We are kicking off episode 7 here on the Let's Be Frank video podcast. I'm your host, Jason Duhe, joined by head coach Frank Monica. We are very excited to bring you this show. Of course, we're going to have LHSAA prep talk, going to recap week 7, and also preview week 8. We're going to talk some local college football between LSU and Tulane, some big things coming out of there. We'll touch on the Saints as well. In the Let's Be Frank segment, we're going to go ahead and talk about salaries in sports. Coach is going to discuss his developing game plans and call sheets in the Football 101 segment. And in the Thanks for the Memory segment, we're going to talk about the 1999 St. Charles Catholic football team. Also, we have special guest, Newman head football coach Nelson Stewart, but we're going to go ahead and bring on Coach Monica. Coach, a lot of excitement in the world of college football in Louisiana. I know we always kind of preview high school, but a lot of big things happening this weekend in the college game for the local teams.
No question. I think, Jason, what we need to talk about, that a lot of people are kind of overlooking Tulane University. You know, in Vegas, it was actually picked to maybe win the spread was like 5.5 games in Vegas way back in August, and they've already superseded that. So, and I know everybody said that they're bowl eligible. Knowing Coach Fritz, who we had on one of our shows, I think they're thinking about bigger things now, and let's hope that they can win a few more ball games and even get that big bowl game that everybody's been aspiring to have.
Let's go ahead and take a look at week 7 in the LHSAA game. We're going to go ahead and start looking at Turlings Catholic, who took on LCA. It was a 21-17 victory for Turlings Catholic, a big win for that team and program. They remain unbeaten in a really tough district in 4A out there. It's a 4-4A game. LCA led 10-7 going into half. And that's tough to overcome when you're talking about a very quality ball club in LCA who has Division I talent all over the field. Turling's offense woke up in the third, scored a 16-yard touchdown to give them the lead. But LCA connected on a 41-yard touchdown pass. Coach, you know how much big playability that team has. And LCA ended up having a chance to put the game away with just over 2 minutes left. Had the ball on the 5-yard line. Penalties pushed them out of field goal range. Turlings drove down the field with 2 minutes, and on 4th and goal from the 37-yard line, Welsh connected with Kane for the go-ahead touchdown with 34 seconds as the Rebels remain unbeaten. Just a crazy finish out there. And Turlings Catholic, a very good football team that might be getting overlooked because of the teams like LCA, but proving they can hang with just about anybody in the state.
No question. I think the Turlings were very, very fortunate to win that ball game, and they were very fortunate to beat St. Charles Catholic earlier in the year. But, good football teams find a way. Good football teams, kids that are resilient. That's the big word nowadays. And I think that give them a lot of credit for hanging in there. Lafayette Christian is not the same Lafayette Christian, but they're still a very, very good football team. And Turlings now is the number 1 seed in Division II.
A lot of those Division I prospects that we discussed are sophomores and juniors on LCA. So an influx of young talent for LCA, and you'll see them in the same spot next year. Coach Curtis defeated Acadiana on the road 35-14. A big win for Curtis. Not a surprise because Curtis constantly wins these big games, but the fashion and the manner that they did maybe opening up a few eyes.
Yeah, that was weird about that. Both of those teams are basically veer football teams, veer offenses, and two of the best veer offenses you've ever seen. They're really, really good at running the ball and actually pitching the ball. They don't turn it over. And Curtis has been very good at not turning it over because they've been accustomed to having a few turnovers in their offense as of late. But it looks like they've corrected that within the last couple of weeks. They're very good up front. They actually rotate like 10 offensive linemen on various snaps. And they had a big 70-yard run on the first play of the second half that kind of separated the game right there. And it ended up 35-14, and Curtis had over 300 yards rushing. And I mean, and on the road like that to beat a real fine Acadiana team, might add they might meet again because remember, Acadiana is now a select football team.
And looking at another game was Covington defeating Hammond 18-34. Hammond is kind of a bit of a surprise, Coach. They're picking up their 5th win of the season, 5-2 on the year. Covington falls to 5-2. But this is a Hammond team that's 1 win away from their first season above 500 since 2018. So for them to go out and beat a team like Covington, which is a very quality opponent in a tough district where there are no gimme wins, is quite an impressive feat. And I think there's an opportunity here for Hammond to continue building and maybe see them try to make a push in the playoffs and make a bit of a run.
I talked to one of the former assistant coaches, and he's not surprised at all. He says that the talent was there, but they just seem to be well organized now, and they feel like they believe in themselves. And that's all it takes. Once you get on a little momentum, those kids that think sometimes they think they're better than what they are, but I understand they also have the talent to back that up.
Lutcher defeated Hahnville 35-14. Coach, Lutcher just keeps on rolling. We've discussed it quite a few times that they have a very good chance at being near the end or in the Superdome when it comes down to the finals in their bracket. Again, proving that they can play 5A competition. I know Hahnville is not quite where they would like to be at this point in the season, but hats off to Lutcher for playing a bigger quality football team in Hahnville and coming away with a double-digit win.
I think, that team, actually, it validates their schedule, too, because really the schedule the rest of the way is not really, really tough. And I think this really makes them a contender. And they really manhandled a real fine 5A football team in Hahnville right there. And also, if you go down the bracket and you look at the 24 teams that will make that, I think they're a superior football team. They're definitely a team, as you just said, Jason, that could end up in the Superdome in December, especially if Winfield stays healthy at that quarterback, because that guy's a man, and he's hard to take down, and he's going to carry the ball 20, 25 times a game, and plus he can throw it.
Coach, kind of a lateral conversation while we're on this topic. You mentioned Lutcher's end of the season schedule might not be up to snuff in terms of the competition they're maybe used to playing. How, as a head coach, from your perspective, how does that impact your preparation and your planning when you're going into the playoffs and look, my biggest game left on the schedule is week 7. I've got to keep my team mentally checked in and prepared for those final games before heading into the playoffs.
So you just have to really continue doing the things you've done that have been successful, but it also gives you an opportunity to experiment a little bit. It gives you an opportunity to try some personnel changes, maybe some packages, maybe a run here or throw there, screen pass or something like that. Maybe experiment with just different rotations. I think it's very, very important. And there's nothing like allowing some kids to get into some game time, maybe your second unit group, to give them some quality time, give some quality snaps, and let them play a little bit, because there's nothing like a kid coming to the sideline and say, hey, I played in this game and something like that. Plus, you want to stay healthy. You want to enter the playoffs playing really, really well, but you got to be very, very careful about your team kind of losing some momentum also.
Thanks, Coach. And Carr defeated Jesuit 33-17. Carr continues to roll and prove that they are the team to beat, maybe in the entire state. A fantastic ball club, but the tightest game that Carr has played on the scoreboard was this game. Jesuit gave Carr their toughest test of the year, as I mentioned. Carr scored on its first 3 possessions, positioned themselves in the driver's seat with a 19-3 lead, never really let up. Carr's offense went for 468 yards against a very disciplined Jesuit defense. Impressive day for Carr, but as you've mentioned, Coach, people have been saying this could be the best Carr team they've ever seen, which is quite a statement.
Give Jesuit credit, just the fact that they stayed close to him, and the score was that close. But Jesuit just fights. They're a sound football team. You have to defeat them. They're not gonna back down. They'll compete. And that, as a coach, that's what you want. You want kids that will compete, no matter what the score. Not even look at the scoreboard. But Carr, with all that talent they just have too much speed on the field, and they have too many game breakers. They got so many guys that can take the game over, whether it's a running back, a quarterback, even a defensive back, a punt returner, a kickoff returner. They have so many weapons they have on their football team, and nobody mentions the fine D line and offensive line that they possess. So, and they're well coached. Coach done a phenomenal job for years with them, and the kids know what to expect, and he really has them well disciplined.
Coach, St. Martinville defeated St. Charles Catholic 35-25. You were at that game. What are your thoughts on the way that game played out?
Well, St. Martinville is good as advertised. They only had 2 wins coming in, but they played a tough schedule, and they're really, really a very physical football team. They're 4A school. St. Charles without 7 starters, 3 on offense and 4 on defense, and it really showed, especially on defense, because St. Martin was physically bigger up front. and St. Charles had a problem stopping the run, and St. Charles had a problem running the football when they needed to run the football inside, especially. But they had some new players. Their best back was out, and they didn't find that out till the Thursday night before the ball game. But give St. Martinville a lot of credit because they were pretty tough football team. They big played St. Charles, and if you can stay away from the big play, you have a chance to win. But I think the Comets will be back. I think they'll be back, and they'll get some kids back this week, and they'll make a run. And then they got the 2 games here that they have a very good opportunity to win, and then the last one against Newman, and then now it's in the playoffs. They're still number 2 in the power ranking, and St. Martin's is going to be a team that really will fool some people. So stay tuned to them. I really think they're well organized and a team that really can contend in 4A.
Let's move on to some Week 8 previews. Some big games coming up this upcoming Friday. The first game we're going to talk about is Destrehan at Sulphur. Destrehan is 7-0, outscoring opponents. This is video game numbers, Coach. 312-17. They're outscoring opponents. It's not like they played a bunch of slappies. They played some really good football teams. They've been dominating on both sides of the football. Sulphur only 2-5 on the year, trying to get a massive upset at home. You have to keep in mind Destrehan is taking a long road trip out west. Could that play into the game and affect their mentality? I wouldn't expect that to happen, but you never know when you have those big road trips.
Well, Destrehan is one of the best teams in the state, and I think they haven't been tested at all yet. I mean, I don't think they've played really a tough schedule at all. They're not going to get anybody in their district that's going to contend. Maybe East St. John is having a fine year. But St. John, I don't think they have the people that can stand up to Destrehan. I don't look for that game to go East St. John's way. This trip at Sulphur does break them away from the district. I think Sulphur will be a better test for them than anybody else in their district, to be honest with you. But look for Destrehan to be one of those teams. And I've said this before. I think the River Parish could have Destrehan, St. Charles Catholic, Lutcher, and Riverside all end up in the Superdome.
Very good possibility that could happen. St. Aug takes on Curtis on Saturday. Both teams are heading into this game 6-1. What I find fascinating is the drastic contrast in style, and I love when you have a round peg in a square hole, trying to see the drastic styles and change of play. St. Aug wants to air it out, high scoring, high flying. Curtis is ground and pound, run the football, option offense. And I am fascinated to see how this game plays out. I think it's going to come down to who can impose their will offensively on the other team and make them play at their pace.
Well, St. Aug, I saw them on tape against Rummel, and they had a running back that went 240 yards on the ground, so they can also throw it. And on defense, they'll play man coverage, and sometimes that man coverage will be tough against a veer triple option team like John Curtis. And John Curtis could really run the ball and control the clock. And I'm sure that Coach Curtis right now is telling them, hey, let's control the clock a little bit, keep their offense off the field, because they do have an explosive offense. And that's what happened today when Rummel got close to him. They popped a 70-yard run on him, and all of a sudden the game was out of kilter somewhat. So, but that should be a real war in the trenches. I would love to see that one.
Next up, we have Rummel at Brother Martin. Rummel's 4-3. Brother Martin's 5-2. Brother Martin's grind out some pretty tight wins the past 2 weeks. They've had some low-scoring ball games that they've been on top. Rummel on a 3-game skid at the moment, looking to flip the script, and it's going to be tough against a quality opponent in Brother Martin, who has proven they can win in a multitude of ways.
That game could be moved to Southeastern, and it'll be a nice venue out there. It'll be Brother Martin's home game, and Brother Martin is really big up front. They can run the football, and that matchup right there, Rummel is not really big up front. They're going to have to rely on that quarterback, Coach Casey Avor, to have a very, very good night, actually throwing the ball. So that could be a real tight football game, and I think both of them are trying to find their identity in the Catholic League, knowing right now the class of the league seems to be Carr, John Curtis, and St. Aug. And so I think the rest of the guys are just finding a way to try to build up their power ranking and maybe get a better seed in the playoffs.
Next up, we have St. Thomas More at Turlings Catholic. We just mentioned Turlings Catholic 7-0, St. Thomas More 6-1. This is a big district matchup. This is likely going to be for the district title, and two very good ball clubs, both of which might be seeing each other again. Very athletic teams that have a ton of talent on the field, and it's going to be a war between these ball clubs, and it should be interesting
Jason,
game to
both
see.
of these teams, I felt that both these teams years ago should have been in 5A. And at one time when they had the opportunity to be there, but they were combining, let's just say, in an infinite wisdom one time, put the 4A's with the 3A's, which was totally unfair, especially when we were coaching. That was part of that mess. And but this is going to be a great game in Lafayette area for them. I think the fans have been asking for this particular matchup for a long, long time. St. Thomas More is still a very good football team. The quarterback for Turlings has to play well. He's very capable of playing well. And Turlings is well coached, and I know St. Thomas More is, and Coach Hightower was over there. And he's got well over 300 wins and Hall of Fame guy. So they have a great, great program. And so it's going to be a packed house and a lot of excitement. That game is going to probably go to overtime.
Next, in our next matchup, we have Covington at Slidell. Covington comes into the game at 5-2. Slidell comes in at 6-1. Both teams in a big district matchup could determine the championship. Slidell hasn't lost a game since a week 1 loss to Jesuit, looking to improve. Covington trying to rebound after a tough loss last week.
I think Coach Skoll was an excellent defensive coach. Coach Salter is very good at Covington also. If you had to pick a team right here, you would have to go with the defensive side. That's Slidell's played a little bit better defense lately, but you never can tell. I really think that's going to be, that's always been a competitive game and one of those games that you look forward to on the North Shore every year. I just look for a close contest in this one, no matter what happens. I think Slidell's power ranking is something like 2 or 3 in the state, and Covington is ranked very, very high. So I don't see where this ball game could be a blowout at all.
And that'll do it for our prep talk. Let's go ahead and look at some of our local colleges, in particular the two that we've been kind of talking about. We'll start out with LSU taking on Florida, a 45-35 win. Special teams, Coach. I don't know how many times we've had to say it. We're rough once again for LSU, but despite that, they find a way to overcome an early kickoff and an early punch in the mouth from Florida. Their offense woke up. Finally, we saw Jaden Daniels take those shots downfield and was able to even open up and utilize the way that he's able to run the football. I love the way Coach Denbrock put in some zone reads, gave some read options to him, allowing him to be athletic on the perimeter. First LSU quarterback to pass for 3 touchdowns and run for 3 touchdowns in the same game. But an overall impressive performance for LSU. But they still have to stay awake and alert. They have a big game coming up this week.
I think I don't know how good Florida is. I mean, Florida's secondary really looks a little porous. But what's interesting on those deep balls, Jason, when that ball leaves the quarterback's hand, they all 50-50 balls. It's just a matter of that guy going and get it, and that those receivers they have to make that quarterback look good. He puts the ball there, and it starts with the O-line. I mean, they have to have a clean pocket, and he has to be able to step up in the pocket and get it to what they call the cup. And they were able to do that. But, Daniels give him a lot of credit. In 2 steps, when he decides to run, he's full speed. He's really fun to run. He's an excellent runner. He's very explosive, and he's a playmaker. And I think you give him a lot of credit. And because I really still think that the receiving core are some average dudes. And I think their running backs are some average dudes. But I give Coach Kelly, he says, stay with the process, and that's his big thing. And I still think his roster is not what it needs to be, but to get them to play at that level, coming off that performance against Tennessee, and you just hit it on the nose. There's no reason why they should be that poor on special teams and make the mistakes that they make on special teams. So if they can correct that and bring that defense, who knows? They might win a couple more, even though they're going to the toughest part of their schedule.
And I don't think anybody would deny what you're saying. I think Florida's definitely a step down from what we've seen years in the past. It's a bigger name brand than football team at the moment, but winning in Jordan-Hare and in the Swamp has never been done before. Brian Kelly was able to accomplish that. It's an impressive feat, but they have Ole Miss coming in this week, top 10 ball club. Some people believe Ole Miss might be a bit of a smokescreen. They've trailed in some games that they probably shouldn't have, haven't truly been battle tested the way LSU has. This game could go either way. We'll see either Ole Miss rise to the occasion and prove that they are validated with that top 10 rating, or we're going to see the reason that they're ranked top 10 is because other teams have lost their games, and Ole Miss has just kind of found the way moving up.
Well, it's funny that here LSU's playing at home. Ole Miss is undefeated, and LSU's favorite. I say, that seems like an oxymoron. I don't think that Ole Miss's defense is that good. If LSU plays well on offense, I don't know, but I do think that Ole Miss's offense is very innovative. Their head coach is a guy, innovative offensive guy. He calls his own plays, and he's been like that for years. He's offense coordinator at Alabama, and he's had his ups and downs also as a head coach. But I don't know if LSU plays physical. I think the key in this ball game, LSU needs to hit him in the mouth. They need to play physical with Ole Miss because I think Ole Miss is still an offense that is really, really finesse. And those finesse offenses don't last against a very, very physical defense.
Interesting matchup. 2:30 kickoff on CBS Saturday. Should be an exciting one. Coach, Tulane is ranked for the first time since their undefeated season, since 1998, after a win over South Florida 45-31. And it's earned. It's warranted. And again, Coach Fritz took his time to come on the podcast with us. Just since they took that loss, have really just continued an upward trajectory. And it's incredible where they are at this point in the season.
Personally, I'm so happy for him because, as I said before, he might be one of the most organized coaches I've seen. He loves the game. And I think he's got the Tulane faithful believing now. He went on the road, won some tough ball games when he beat Houston. At first of all, started Kansas State, then the Houston game, especially with his third-team quarterback. Now he's got the Tulane faithful believing again, and I hope that he can get the crowd that they expect to see. They deserve to fill that 30,000-seat stadium against Memphis, and that really is going to mean a lot and give those kids some adrenaline because there's nothing like emotion and playing at home. So if they can get this when they go back on the road and who knows? I mean, they got some tough they're like LSU. The tough part of their schedule is in front of them, but there's no reason right now when they look at it that they can't be an 8 or 9 win team.
Memphis is not going to be an easy win, as you mentioned. It's going to be at home, but still, that's a quality ball club. They're always one of the teams to beat in the AAC conference. Hopefully, we'll see Tulane come out with that win at 2:30 on Saturday, but it'll be tough. It's not going to be an easy win by any means.
On a side note, Jason, I can remember when I was coaching there, one of the games we should have won in the Superdome, and I can remember back in those days, we had split crews. We had a split crew, and we were winning the ball game, and all of a sudden we thought we celebrated after a tackle. We thought the game was over. Everybody was high-fiving the whole deal, and all of a sudden here comes a late flag by some erroneous official. And a play later, they're in the end zone, and actually the back bounced in the end zone and gave him a touchdown. I remember that like it was yesterday. And basically, that game actually cost us a bowl game that year. So I'm not going to be pulling for Memphis.
I wouldn't expect it any other way. Coach, the Saints dropped another game this week. It was to Cincinnati at home. It seems like LSU and the Saints have this weird relationship where if one wins, the other can't win. They're not syncing up on their schedule, but the way that the Saints lost this week is it's tough to watch.
Yeah, Jason, I read an article today, and it's kind of like they put the blame a little bit on Dalton. I said, wait a minute now, how could they say that when they got these guys that not lining up? I mean, Michael Thomas can't line up. I mean, Jarvis Landry can't line up, and so he's playing with receivers that actually just they pulled him off the practice squad. I mean, that's not the same thing. I mean, so they're asking Dalton to win with guys that are actually third teamers or so, and that's not the Olave or whatever his name is. He didn't play, and he's playing with other receivers. Kirkwood just got on the team, and so I don't think it's fair to say that he's the guy. No, everything is actually put on his back for this. Look, he doesn't play defense either. And he doesn't punt. I mean, the punter the other day when they needed a decent punt gets a 20-yard punt. I mean, that guy's getting paid big bucks to at least punt the ball 40 yards. He's very capable of doing that. But when the time came, he didn't get that big punt. So there's a lot of blame to go around. It's not. And I thought Dalton certainly is a backup quarterback has done well. But, a lot of those sacks was not his fault either. As every quarterback will tell you, he have to make one step. A quarterback has to be able to take at least one step sideways or forward before he can deliver the ball. So if that pocket's not clean, it's not fair to put the blame of him that he lost the ball game.
it's almost like a grocery list of injuries that the Saints have been riddled with. It's hard to win in the NFL. Every game is a tight game. It's much harder to win when you have all your playmakers constantly dinged up, out, your big linemen out, not playing. And that's been a major issue for the Saints as well. Definitely not the only factor by any means. I don't think that's helping their case right now, but they've got to find a way to get back on track. The sad thing is, Coach, they're still in the running for the division. They're one game out. So it's not like they're so far back that they can't make a push, but you can't continue to lose, and it starts Thursday. You have to win that game Thursday and try to turn things around against Arizona.
I agree. And also, again, I go back to the Dalton situation. Is they said that Jameis Winston, if he's been in the ball game, did it won? I don't think that either. I think it had the same outcome.
All right, and that'll do it for our first segment. When we come back, we're going to go ahead and have head coach from Newman High School, Coach Nelson Stewart, and later on we'll have our Let's Be Frank segment where coaches going to talk salaries in professional sports. And this Thanks for the Memory segment, we're going to talk about the 1999 St. Charles Catholic football season. And in Football 101, we're going to talk about developing game plans and call sheets. But before we do that, we want to go ahead and thank our title sponsor, Accardo and Dufresne Law Firms. Samuel Accardo Jr. and Henri P. Dufresne, your go-to River Parish lawyers. Experience, tenacity, and results. Sammy Accardo and Henri Dufresne provide comprehensive legal services in personal injury, hurricane claims, business litigations, successions, and estate planning. Our trial experience, know-how, and commitment to protect and serve our clients is unparalleled. We provide complete real estate title and escrow services through our affiliate, State Title LLC. The River Parishes is our home, and serving our communities is our passion. Samuel Accardo Jr. and Henri P. Dufresne, your go-to River Parish lawyers. Experience, tenacity, and results. Sammy Accardo and Henri Dufresne provide comprehensive legal services in personal injury, hurricane claims, business litigation, successions, and estate planning. Our trial experience, know-how, and commitment to protect and serve our clients is unparalleled. We provide complete real estate title and escrow services through our affiliate, State Title LLC. The River Parishes is our home, and serving our communities is our passion. Based out of Gramercy, Louisiana, LSR produces Southern cane, pure cane sugar, which is only grown, refined, and packaged in Louisiana. LSR utilizes the latest innovations in technology, as well as ensuring the growth and stability of Louisiana's sugarcane farmers by integrating more than 800 growers in the industry's economic structure. Southern cane is available in your local Associated Grocers and Rouse's supermarkets.
Since 1972, Riverlands Insurance Services has been dedicated to securing the best insurance products and services available to protect you, your family, your assets, and your business. Our goal has been to establish a strong relationship and partnership between you, the insurance company, and our agency, creating a circle of success that prepares for disasters before they actually happen. Starting in 1981 as an industrial vacuum truck company, A3M Vacuum Services has grown to be an industry leader in waste disposal services. Whether it's providing cleanup crews for plant maintenance or emergency crews for environmental cleanup and disposable projects around the river parishes and New Orleans, A3M Vacuum Services maintains the same level of personal customer relations and work ethic that founder Pat Sellers started almost 40 years ago. Proud supporters of Comet Athletics.
If you're looking for commercial or residential dump truck services, go with R&K Construction. This family-owned and operated business has great trucks and are big supporters of high school sports. Smoothie King LaPlace thanks the community for 29 years. Through the good times and the toughest times, Smoothie King has been here to serve our guests. Whether you're looking for a keto-friendly smoothie, a recovery smoothie, or a healthy, refreshing snack, Smoothie King has you covered. Discover all the ways to be your best self and rule the day with Smoothie King. If you're in need of storage space at your home or business, stop by and visit with the good folks at Acadia LLC. Seth Boudreaux and his employees are there weekdays from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Give them a shout at 985-359-1333 or visit them at 1301 West Airline Highway in LaPlace. Tonight, our special guest lettered 4 years at Newman and served as captain, played offensive line at Tulane, including being a part of Tulane's 1998 undefeated team, has been at Newman for the past 24 years, 12 of which he has been the head coach. We want to welcome on our special guest, head coach for Newman High School, Nelson Stewart. Coach, thank you so much for joining us. And, what's the experience been like to be able to be the head coach of the program that you played at in high school?
Well, first, thank y'all so much for having me. Frank Monica is a legend and my hero. So anytime I can get on, you can see I'm in a dark car.
That's just like I wrote it. Just like I wrote it.
Yes. Well, I tell you, it's been surreal. Certainly, it was never anything that I envisioned. I got into football. Really, just I loved it. And believe it or not, I give so much credit to Coach Monica, who recruited me as a walk-on offensive lineman in 1995. I love the sport, and he gave me that opportunity to graduate from Tulane. And coming back, I think I really just want to be a good O-line coach and work hard. But once Katrina happened, I'd only been there a few years. They promoted me, and it's 16 years as head coach, and I just tried to get back. It really is about the kids and the school, and it's a great institution, and it's been really rewarding. So it's sure gone by fast. I can tell you. I remember my first day walking through the door, but it's been great. Obviously, it's your alma mater, it's extra special, but it's been a wonderful experience, and again, just a great institution, and to be able to compete against guys like Coach Monica, Hall of Famers, while it has been a big part of my loss record and my win-losses. I've gotten better from it, and
Coach,
it's been a great experience.
Tell us, first of all, you played for Coach Reginelli at Newman, and then you played for Coach Duhe, and as an offensive lineman yourself, and also people don't really know that you blocked for Peyton Manning also at Newman.
Yeah, no, I think first to the first part of the question, Tony Reginelli, he's an institution. He is Newman football. Really, I think, my model of, what to do is kind of hopefully the way he did. He was always about doing the right thing. He really focused on us being student athletes. And I was on his last team, Peyton's senior year was he in the last team he was a part of. He had won 200 games, and was at a point in his career, much like, I guess, even when you were, where he was able to hand it to Frank Duhe. And just to remember him as an old school, defensive-minded coach that really, I think, expanded. He ran the veer. We got Peyton. He went to the spread offense, got Coach Duhe calling great plays. He actually went to Florida State to learn. And it was really just, watching him grow, with where he was. And I think he had arguably his most success at the end, and he was great there. And I think that as you said, playing with Peyton was unlike anything else. Newman up till '91 in the '80s, really a basketball themed school. Billy Fitzgerald, so many great programs, and he put us on the map. He really took care of his linemen. He gave them isotoner gloves, and he took them to dinner. He's started team dinner nights, team meal nights. And he just was one of those guys, I think, that, was mature beyond his years. And, he really helped mold, how to be a leader and what to do. And, I think really put us on the trajectory to where we are today.
Coach, let me, first of all, I need to see your pretty face. You know what I mean? I hope you keep your eyes on the road while you're driving here. Coach,
yes, sir.
Let me talk about your team for a second. I mean, you played a great schedule, and I think that's a great thing because, the district, other than you guys in St. Charles, seem to be the front runners in that district, and you got a tough game against Country Day because that's a big rival for you lately. Hasn't it been that way?
Yeah, no, I think that, and with our schedule, Coach, I think it was something that I put a lot of thought behind. We felt like we needed to play people this year. As you once told me, you don't get better by just taking, batting practice. You really have to take live fastballs. And, we tried to do it. I think it's benefited us tremendously. I really like where we are. At this point, we lost a great player in Will Randall, but, able to beat a really good, De La Salle team early. Defeating 5A Hahnville, a game I know a lot of people didn't give us credit. Big rivalry win over Riverside Academy. And they obviously have, that's their only defeat, and a shootout against Benton, who's scoring 60 points a game. And, we came close against, Manny, even with Will Randall out, we were drive short, and, to be 5-1, at this point, going into week 8, obviously we're excited. I think that, arguably our toughest game was our last game against Bell Chase. They have such a phenomenal running back. We had to, win it in the end, just with a stop and a big throw by Arch. And, I love our defense. I think it's kind of, everybody wants to talk about the quarterback for good reason. Defense has been great. I think the O-line play's been good. And, Arch has been fantastic. He's almost 1,400 yards passing. He's thrown for 20, no interceptions. And we've been careful with the football. We've won the turnover battle. And we've been good in all 3 phases. We're not great, but, or as great.
You're not great, Coach, but you're president number 1 in the power ranking. And I know that I know you had to kind of peek at that just a little bit. I know everybody talks about going 1-0. But the power rank is important because that bracket's important also. What's your thoughts about that playoff format, Coach, that the LHSA just decided to go to?
Coach, I love it. I think one of the things that I think is, as coaches, you got to want to compete. When you just start in the quarterfinals, it doesn't seem the way, in my opinion, that it should be. I think that, for us, expanding to 24, now we can get, by district regionals, quarterfinals, semis, and going into the second week of December. I think that's the way it should be. And, you get tired, coaches, playing the same teams, playoffs are great, but, how many times you play Dunham, Catholic, New Iberia, per se. I'm excited for new competition. And I think that it's going to be very competitive. You're going to really have to – it's not just a draw. You have to be playing well in all 3 phases. Now, the quarters are going to be some dynamite matchups that won that way. So, I'm really excited. And, maybe – you look at our close game against Manny, and then all of a sudden this format, maybe this is another way for us to get back together, because, I'll sure never stop, trying to make that happen. And I'm excited. We're excited to compete and, every game in the competition. So I think it's a great thing.
I think what you've done, Coach, with your schedule has been phenomenal in terms of, you loaded it up, because a lot of people don't have real tough districts. And a lot of people now, because of your reputation and what you've done at Newman, I mean, you've gotten that program on a map, and everybody respects you. They talk about Newman. You get a lot of publicity about it, and it's more than just the Arch Meany playing quarterback. It's Newman itself. You've been a contender every year, and I know a lot of people, including myself, we're looking forward to the game at SEC at your place. And because like everybody says, we got 2 more prior to that. But I think everybody's looking forward to that big matchup.
No, I think, I appreciate the kind words, Coach. But I agree. You do have to be, be a program. And I think, we, even from how we organize practice and our meetings, we really are team centric. We don't focus on the individual. It's a huge matchup, week 10. We can't look ahead. And I know it's natural for everyone to be excited about, that game against St. Charles Catholic, but we got to get there. Both of us have, some players hurt. So we got to get healthy. And Country Day, Coach Chet has done an outstanding job, in terms of, he's a line guy. They run inside, outside zones so well. Troy Baglio stepping in as their defensive coordinator. They're great with their hands. They run all those twist stunts. So it'll be a great matchup. And hopefully we can both come out of it healthy with a good power ranking and, a good gauge of where we are. So I know it's going to be a great matchup.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't understand, Coach, how there will be 8 byes in that bracket, and you're hoping, I'm sure, that you end up with one of those. And but teams out there, it looks like Dunham's going to be a pretty good football team. You got Duhe that's way back there. That could be a sleeper right now. That their power rank is not very good because they played good people. But you're going to have as good a shot as anybody, especially if you get there healthy. And I know that the Randall kid was just a phenomenal player for you. He was playing offense and defense, and that's going to be a big loss. But a lot of people have those same type of injuries, and they have to just go on. So
you do.
Coach, I know that. I know you're going to have them ready. And Coach, tell us a little bit about your family.
Oh, no, thank you for asking. Well, I'm actually, as I, go through to tell you a lot about my family, I'm driving to a purple belt ceremony for my oldest. So they're always very active. The strength of any coach is always their wife. So I've been incredibly blessed to be married to, my wife, Emily, who you met for, over 20 years. Ironically, I met her my first year at Newman. Her brother was my least favorite defensive lineman. And I never would have thought I'd married his sister, but I met her one night. So she's been great. My oldest, Taylor, is 15 years old. She's a freshman at St. Therese Academy. And then my twins, Caroline and John Nelson, he likes to be called John, are both in 5th grade at St. George's. So, we're a great unit. I don't have many hobbies. I kind of, it's football and family. That's all I really got time for. But, she makes the engine go. That much I know. But
they're great. And you attended all the ceremonies that I had, Coach. I appreciate that. Do you have that big old truck? You still have that big truck?
You know what? Believe it or not, she made me sell it. It came to the point where she needed a new car, and she basically looked at me and said, if you don't have down payment, I see something in the driveway that could go toward it. So I had to let that go. But at 45, I don't think I'm going to be off-roading very much in uptown New Orleans. So it was part of my maturation progress.
It just doesn't go. That big 4x4 doesn't go on St. Charles Avenue for some reason, Coach.
No, it was cool when I was 28, though. I thought I was pretty special with a, 2,500 on 35-inch tires. But
Coach, last but not least, you've
Sure.
always come to our 7-on-7s, and you were very, very special and drove all the way from your school every day to come out to La Place and play 7-on-7 in the summertime on Wednesday mornings. And you and I worked at Manning Camp for many, many years, and we drank a lot of cheap wine together. Why, Jake, drank cheap wine? You drank that expensive.
So you like cigars, Coach.
mean?
Come on.
And you tried to smoke my cigar, but I wouldn't let you. But,
see, you know what? I make me sick. But Coach, there's a reason we call the Godfather. You're the legend of the camp. So.
Well, I got to thank you so much for being with us, Coach. I got to say that you look better in the dark. You know what I mean?
I appreciate that. No, I will say, and not to embarrass you, but I think you're without question the finest head coach I've ever gone against in my career. Just the job you did, throughout. I feel like you did things the right way. You never want credit, but I will tell you the fact that how you handled, handing your program off when arguably his best state to Coach Stein, going to a state championship. The fact you did that, more coaches should look at that because, your legacy and how you're viewed, while you laugh all the time, you're a true Hall of Famer. And as I looked at the coaches on the way out after a graded film, and I said, I'm going on the Godfather's podcast, they said, good luck, you got to go right now. So you are universally respected and beloved for good reason. And hopefully, I don't miss going across the field from you because, like we always say, for 360, 4 days of the year, you're the nicest guy in the world. But I know how it is on Friday nights. I can now smile at you at the 50.
Well, my wife says that about the other 364 days, So.
Yeah. Just like when you call, I say, we're coaching the same guys, we're the same team. And I was young, it made sense. And 50-0 later, I learned my lesson. You're the best, Coach. You can have me.
You've done a phenomenal job. You got to, and I think that people need to appreciate what you've done there at Newman because you're not blessed with a wealth of athletic ability, and you're just blessed with hard-nosed kids that play hard and very, very smart, and they take your leadership. Coach, thank you so much for being with us tonight. I really appreciate it. And please stay in touch with us and good luck on Friday.
Yeah, no problem, Coach. You're the legend. You're the man. Anytime.
Thank you so much, Nelson.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, guys. Thank you all. You got it.
We'd like to thank Coach Nelson Stewart for taking time out of his busy schedule to join us. And we'd also like to thank LSR for sponsoring the Let's Be Frank video podcast. LSR produces Southern Cane pure cane sugar, which is only grown, refined, and packaged in Louisiana. Southern Cane is available in your local Associated Grocers and Rouse's supermarkets. Stay tuned as we dive into our Let's Be Frank segment where we talk salaries and sports, MLB playoffs, and Football 101. We have developing game plans and call sheets. and he's going to talk about the 1999 St. Charles football season. So stay tuned. You're watching the Let's Be Frank video podcast. Samuel Liccardo Jr. and Henri P. Dufresne, your go-to River Parish lawyers. Experience, tenacity, and results. Sammy Liccardo and Henri Dufresne provide comprehensive legal services in personal injury, hurricane claims, business litigation, successions, and estate planning. Our trial experience, know-how, and commitment to protect and serve our clients is unparalleled. We provide complete real estate, title, and escrow services through our affiliate, State Title LLC. The River Parishes is our home, and serving our communities is our passion. Based out of Gramercy, Louisiana, LSR produces Southern cane, pure cane sugar, which is only grown, refined, and packaged in Louisiana. LSR utilizes the latest innovations in technology, as well as ensuring the growth and stability of Louisiana's sugarcane farmers by integrating more than 800 growers in the industry's economic structure. Southern cane is available in your local Associated Grocers and Rouse's supermarkets.
Since 1972, Riverlands Insurance Services has been dedicated to securing the best insurance products and services available to protect you, your family, your assets, and your business. Our goal has been to establish a strong relationship and partnership between you, the insurance company, and our agency, creating a circle of success that prepares for disasters before they actually happen. Starting in 1981 as an industrial vacuum truck company, A3M Vacuum Services has grown to be an industry leader in waste disposal services. Whether it's providing cleanup crews for plant maintenance or emergency crews for environmental cleanup and disposable projects around the river parishes and New Orleans, A3M Vacuum Services maintains the same level of personal customer relations and work ethic that founder Pat Sellers started almost 40 years ago. Proud supporters of Comet Athletics.
If you're looking for commercial or residential dump truck services, go with R&K Construction. This family-owned and operated business has great trucks and are big supporters of high school sports. Smoothie King LaPlace thanks the community for 29 years. Through the good times and the toughest times, Smoothie King has been here to serve our guests. Whether you're looking for a keto-friendly smoothie, a recovery smoothie, or a healthy, refreshing snack, Smoothie King has you covered. Discover all the ways to be your best self and rule the day with Smoothie King. If you're in need of storage space at your home or business, stop by and visit with the good folks at Acadia LLC. Seth Bouchard and his employees are there weekdays from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Give them a shout at 985-359-1333 or visit them at 1301 West Airline Highway in LaPlace. Welcome back to Let's Be Frank video podcast. We'd like to thank our sponsor, Riverlands Insurance, for sponsoring the Let's Be Frank video podcast. Since 1972, Riverlands Insurance Services has been dedicated to serving the best insurance products and services available to protect you, your family, your assets, and your business. Our goal has always been to establish a strong relationship and partnership between you, the insurance company, and our agency, creating a circle of success that prepares for disasters before they actually happen. All right, now we're going to go into the Let's Be Frank segment where our coach is going to discuss salaries in professional sports. So, Coach, what are your thoughts and feelings on the way salaries are structured and built in the professional level?
Well, guys, first of all, let's go into what we call guaranteed contracts. I think I can understand maybe in football, still not really in favor of guaranteed contracts. I think that needs to be more incentive-based contracts. What I mean by that, for instance, I'll use an example. Golf, for instance, if you don't win, you don't get paid, except for what the sponsor is going to give you. So what I like to see across the board is, like, for instance, have everything incentive based. In other words, in baseball, you get guys that hit 230 and they're making $10 million a year. I don't get that. In basketball, there are guys that are not showing up. Even if you get to the point where you pay a player for a practice, I pay him for practice, pay him for every game he has. They had, at one time we started this league called the XFL, and I thought the guys the winner would get $5,000 a game, the loser would get $2,500, and those guys were playing their butts off. And I think that's incentive based. So they will play for a paycheck. But when you get these guaranteed contracts and these fat cats, the Saints have a couple guys now they can't even get on the field. Those guys are making millions of dollars and they can't get them on the field. Sparky Anderson had once said at one time, he used to be the manager of the Detroit Tigers. He said, give me 25 guys that last year they contract, and I'll give you a pennant winner every year. And there's a lot to be said for that. So, for instance, my idea would be, okay, let's just take it, and everybody's going to have their salary schedule out. But something like this, for an offensive lineman, every offensive lineman gets maybe $500,000 a year. Every game you win, you get $100,000. If you win a playoff game, you get another $500,000. Just fill that contract up with incentives, and you're going to see a lot of guys. You're going to see a lot of guys actually play harder and play better, and make sure that pay them for every game that they make. If they play the entire schedule, give them a huge bonus at the end of the year, because they're not doing that. I mean, we have basketball players that they sit out a whole year, and you've seen that, and you've seen that especially in football now, and they're hiding behind a big contract, and they lose their stinger. An old coach used to say, once a player loses his stinger, he's not a competitive guy anymore. So I just think something along those lines where people, let's get incentive based and pay those guys on what they've accomplished, and not something that's just like that what they've done in the past, but what they do each year as a baseball player. And I'm saying, across the board, every shortstop gets the same amount, but you fill his contract up with incentives. How many home runs and stolen bases, errors, and things of that nature. And every outfielder, you do the same thing for him. Positionally, every basketball player. But I do think you pay them for every practice that they make. You pay them for every game that they play in. Not just win, but play in. Because I really think it's getting out of hand. And a lot of these guys, they're just not showing up. And all of a sudden, you can't tell me a guy's out for so many weeks with a toe, and an ankle, and some type of protocol where others want to play. But so if you do that, you're going to find some hungrier guys. And right now, I don't think that in a professional level they're hungry. And one other note. I think that when a guy is taken out of college, when he's drafted out of college after his first, second, third year, they should reimburse that university, whether NBA, NFL, Major League Baseball, reimburse that university for that scholarship. I think they owe that university that recruited that guy, they fed him, they trained him for those number of years, and I think they owe that university that scholarship back. So that's my Let's Be Frank segment.
All right, Coach, you also want to discuss some Major League Baseball playoffs. We're down to the thick of it, Coach. We've got our two matchups set for the semifinals. You have the Yankees taking on the Astros, and you have the Phillies taking on the Padres. What are your thoughts on those matchups?
Well, first of all, the Dodgers really upset by San Diego, and I mean they should be really kicking themselves in the butt because they won over 100 ball games. And I also feel as though that going back this, I don't think that's fair. I really don't think that's fair because here you got a team like the Phillies, you got a team that loses by 22 games, and all of a sudden they get hot at the end of the year, and now all of a sudden they win, and they're playing the Braves. I mean, they upset the Braves, and the Braves are the defending world champion, the whole deal. But now you got a pretty good matchup there. So I'm glad that San Diego and the Phillies, I mean, it's new excitement, but is it fair for a team like that? That new format in baseball, maybe it works in other things, but you play 162 games a year. I don't know. But anyway, the San Diego and the Phillies have a nice lineup. San Diego has better pitching. You go back and look at Houston. And Houston and the Yankees. Houston definitely has the pitching and the big edge there, and they got a nice lineup. And I mean, they won a game the other night, 18 innings on a home run. After 18 innings. So Houston have the pitching. They're a low scoring team, and they had to come from behind, to beat Seattle. But I think the bottom line is that look for Houston to be there as the American League. I think pennant winner, and I look at really right now, you have to give Phillies the edge because they're hot and they have an awesome lineup as long as Harper can stay in there.
Coach, one thing that I've noticed I've really paid attention to is basketball's had 7 games throughout the entire playoff stretch. In baseball, you've had 1 game. You've got 3 games. You've got 5-game series. And to me, that's just completely backwards. Baseball is built, as you mentioned, you have 162 games. You got this massive schedule. And before this year or in years past, it's come down to one game for some teams. You've got 3 games for a first round, 5 games for a second round, when the whole purpose of having 7-game series is built around rotation, different lineups, different matchups. So for me, I just don't understand why the playoffs, they decide, well, we know that the season's been this stretched out and long. Let's shorten it and tighten it up for this part in the season, because it seems to me like if any sport should have 7 games throughout the entire playoffs, it should be baseball.
Yeah. And the other thing is the timing right now. They're about ready to go into November. And the final game will be played in November. And the Yankees had several games postponed because of weather. One thing you have to consider, Jason, you look at the teams that are in it: San Diego, the Phillies, Houston, and New York. Well, none of those have dome stadiums except Houston. So, I mean, if you go to Philadelphia or New York, you could run into maybe a snow day or something like that. So we'll wait and see how that shakes down.
Coach, you warned about that as well. If you recall, we talked about that it might have been the pilot show with Eric, but I know we talked about that early on about how that could potentially happen. So you called that, you hit that on the nose earlier on in the show. Let's go ahead and look at our Football 101 segment, where Coach is going to break down developing game plans and call sheets. So, Coach, what goes into developing a game plan and creating a call sheet?
You know, Jason, I've been asked by this from many coaches exactly how do you set up your game plan, and there are a lot of ways to do it. There's a lot of ways to go to Chicago, but this is what I've done and what I've learned over the years. First of all, a lot of people call it a flip card, and you might see coaches on the sideline with this card over their mouth and stuff like that. And you have things that are highlighted. Some of them are color coded and the whole deal. Some of them are real decorative, and they're laminated cards in case they get rain. On one side of the card is a general menu of all your plays. It has all the runs, the passes, the screens. It has all those things on one sheet that you can have with formations, with the formations that best called for, something like that. But on the other side, your real call sheet is on the other side. For instance, I always scripted my first 10 plays of every ball game. So I had 1 through 10, and sometimes to a fault. Sometimes to the down and distance didn't match it, but there's something that you wanted to see. The reason why you did it, you ran it one. My motivation was to try to get at least 1 first down when the game started. I wanted my offense to get at least 1 first down and to kind of get in the flow and to get in the rhythm. The 2 is I wanted to show different formations to see how they adjusted. In the secondary, how the front was going to be played, who was going to play that front. So you kind of get understanding of personnel swapping and who they're going to go to. So I always scripted the first 10 plays. But then after that, I had a segment. And one of the segments were, okay, every coach really drills hard on the third and medium. Now, what's third and medium? Third and medium yards. My third and medium was 4 to 7 yards. So anytime I did a third and medium play, I would list 10, 12 plays in that segment and try to use those. And we practiced those. And during practice, I had a third and medium a segment in practice that you actually practice those throws on a certain hash. So you scripted that play, left hash, middle, or right hash. Then you had another segment called the third and short. Now that's just the 3rd and 1 or 2. So 3rd and 1 or 2, short yardage play where you're going to bring the heavy people in or whatever you're going to do. Then the other segment that I like the alumni to call was 3rd and long. The 3rd and 10 plus, that's always a segment that's hard. It's hard to find plays that really match that segment, especially in high school. So that was one. And then I dropped down. There's another section, what I call the red zone. Okay, I had red zone runs all listed. Now, what's the red zone? From the 20-yard line in, or maybe the 25-yard line in, depending on what you thought was the red zone. And then I had a third red zone passes. And I always had a segment in there for what I called a gadget. So I always listed, and in every ball game with 1 or 2 gadget plays, and that you might need or show. I also had a segment there called off schedule plays. You say, what's off schedule? Well, if you have a penalty and you're back and it's first down and 20. Or if it's second and 15 or something like that, had off-schedule plays to put in that category. And so that was always important because you'd go to that off-schedule category quite often. So I would script about 10 plays there, and then after that, I had a deep shot segment. In other words, sometime during the game, I said I want to take a deep shot in each quarter. deep shot in the first quarter, deep shot in the second quarter. What would be my best chance of getting something deep? If maybe I didn't have the receiver to do that, but that way maybe I would put a gadget in place of that. And then the last set, which I would have, what I call goal line runs, goal line passes, and then all your 2-point plays, and all those things are practiced. On Tuesday for me, every Tuesday we practice goal line. On Tuesday, you brought in the certain personnel to practice your goal line runs, then your goal line passes, and also always backed up and had a shot or two from the 8-yard line, from the plus 8-yard line. But you always filled your game plan with a bunch of 2-point plays. But basically, that's what they call a flip card. So one side with all your plays, the other side with actually situational plays that you would call. And do they always work? Heck no. But if they don't work, put it this way, I used to tell the players, anything I call on this playlist should work. If you play hard, everything on this call list should work, or else it wouldn't be the game plan. So, but basically, that's what a lot of people do. It's very, very similar to this, and that's those cards that you see the coaches holding up against their mouth.
I think I speak for all former players when I ask this question. How many of those gadget plays were left unused on your call sheet? Because I would see plays run in practice that I would never see in a game, but I would see every week in practice. And also, it seems like the last few years, Coach, when you were coaching at St. Charles, I'd be calling games and I'd go, I would never see Coach run this when I was playing, and he's running throwback passes to the quarterback at the 50-yard line, and like what was the change? What caused that change in philosophy?
Well, you used them when you kind of held them. It's kind of your trump card. You just didn't want to show your hand, and sometimes you stumble on one. You just didn't want to show all your trick plays all at once, and there are a lot of them out there. But for everyone that you see succeed, Jason, remember there are 10 that don't. It's like a reverse. And, I go back and analyze all my plays over the years. We had a reverse that I got a long, long time ago, and it's a block play. It looks like a gadget, but it's a well-blocked play. And you know what? I can't ever remember that play failing. I used to tell the coaches, why don't I run that more? I mean, because it always had success. And but it blocked. It wasn't just, I wasn't just dependent on somebody going brain dead. We blocked every player that we could possibly block.
All right, Coach, let's go ahead and go to our Blitz the Ball Coach segment where someone gets a chance to ask you a hard-hitting question, and this is a good one, Coach. So what is the biggest change in football that has impacted you in the way that you have to coach?
Well, that's a great question. That's a great question. Who wrote that? Who sent that in, Jason?
I think that was my dad that asked it to me.
He's the welder. I remember Mark doing a great job for me, helped me build the Cometplex at one time. But Mark, that's a great question, and I'm surprised Steven didn't give me a question. But anyway, let me just say this. Number one, the biggest thing that's changed in football is instant replay. I think instant replay has really affected football. It's helped the game tremendously. And I've been crying for them to put that in high school, which it can very easily do. There's so many things that you see that are happening. Every time I watch a game, I say it's so obvious that things that not right. Well, in college and in pros, even if it's not totally right, I watched the Iowa State coach go berserk because he thought he had to call. But, I mean, it was close, and I can understand it. At least you can live with it. So instant replay is a big thing that's changed. I think that some of the rules, like lineman being downfield on a screen pass, that's big, Jason. I mean, you couldn't do that at one time. But now a lineman, as long as the ball's behind the line of scrimmage, the lineman could be downfield and blocking. The same thing as the RPO. The lineman of downfield, actually, if the umpire, he's the guy that stands behind the offensive line. Now in the pros, they're standing behind the quarterback. But if the umpire can see where that guard was down the field blocking the linebacker on the RPO, that's changed the game. Spread offenses have really changed the game. Spread offense, way back when we had the veer offense, you had the wing T offense, you had the triple option offense, which some people still run, the I formation. Then the spread came in, and the spread made people change defenses. So defense had to play faster because they were putting fast guys out there. And they're taking now quarterbacks that are a lot more athletic. You don't see these big sluggos playing quarterbacks anymore. You see a lot of fast guys that can run and throw. And again, look at LSU's quarterback, what he brings to the table. So that's what some of the things that you see change in the game. And lastly, there are a lot of other changes. But lastly, what's happened medically in terms of a concussion protocol. They have tents on the sideline where the observation tents. The guy goes in there and the soft tissue injury. I mean, all those things have really changed the sport a lot. And because it's a very physical game. We all understand that. But I don't know where it's headed, to be honest with you, because there's a lot of sensitivity about quarterbacks in the pocket now and things of that nature about hands off. I wouldn't be surprised that 10 years from now, it's flag football.
All right, Coach, so we're going to go ahead and look at the Thanks for the Memory segment where you wanted to focus on the 1999 St. Charles Catholic football season. Coach, what are your memories on that season?
Well, Jason, the reason they're special, I took the job in May. The coach prior to that, he left in May, went to another school, and I took the job at St. Charles Catholic, and we had 7 practices, and Coach Lou Valden from Hornville called me. They were a powerhouse back then. He said, Coach, you want to play the spring game? I said, no, Coach, I'm not even ready. I just got here. I don't even know these guys. I don't have many players. And, we had just gone to AAA. First time St. Charles Catholic was in AAA. Prior to that, they were playing people like Ridgewood. They were playing St. Martin's and those slouch, but Fisher High School, they were playing those people, and that's the district they were in. But then all of a sudden going to AAA, and we have to play Parkview Baptist. We had to play against Lutcher. We had to play against St. James. I mean, the schedule was just loaded with tough people, and that's one of the reasons that I said I don't know if I want to play, but I said we better play somebody tough. So we scheduled them, and they kicked us pretty good in the spring. But that team went 2-8, Jason, and they're very special to me because they stuck it out. And not everybody on that team. I ended up, I think, with 8 seniors, and I don't mind naming them. I've got to remember, Ricky Mate, Adam Grove, Nicholas Monica, Toby Jacob, John Mitchell, Matt Feast, Matt Cox, Dustin Bro, Chris Morton, James Cupid. They stuck it out. And we actually, game 9, we beat a team that was going to the semifinals in the Christian Life Academy, and those guys. They had heart and they were good athletes. We just didn't have enough horses. We really didn't. And we did see that sophomore class coming. We had a sophomore class coming that we thought had better numbers and they had some athletes in it. And but it's a credit to those guys for sticking it out in that 2-8 season. And they stuck with the program and they didn't get a chance to reap all the benefits of what was later to come. But those guys are very, very special to me.
Thank you, Coach, for that. And let's move on to our Lock of the Week segment where we'll try to get our picks right. We've struggled so far this year at times. Coach, who are you liking this week?
Well, I'm going to Wake Forest again. They covered for me last time. I think they're an excellent football team. I think they got a great quarterback. So I'm going again with Wake Forest again, and they're definitely a 25-point favorite.
All right, I'm going to go with Penn State 4.5 over Minnesota. Coach, I'm taking a break from my lower level teams. I think Penn State got walloped pretty good against Michigan. I think they're a pretty good ball club. I'm not really sold on Minnesota, so 4.5 Penn State is the way I'm going to head with that one. And that'll do it for our show. So, Coach, any final thoughts before we read off the socials?
No, Jason, I just think that there are not many great matchups outside the Catholic League this week, but I think there's a lot of good football left to be played, and everybody's now starting to look at the power rankings because the power rankings start to take shape. And now that you get in district, remember, power rankings won't change very much because they cancel out one another. So what you see right now, there won't be a big adjustment of what happens with the next 3 weeks. But so you can kind of start figuring out exactly who's going to be there at the end.
All right, so that'll do it here. I'm going to be on a bye week. Next week, I'll be out of town, so Eric Ritchie is going to fill in for me with Coach Monica. But make sure to follow us on social media so you can know where to find our show. Again, follow us on Facebook at the Let's Be Frank Video Podcast. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at DLBF Podcast. We are also now on Spotify, and we have more to come in the near future on Apple and Google Podcasts. So that'll do it here.
One last, Jason, if I don't mind interrupting here. our speaker next week is going to be Coach Greg McMahon, who's now he's an analyst with the University of Texas, and former LSU Saints special team coach, and he's a special friend. So we're looking forward to having him.
Sounds great, and we look forward to that. So, for Coach Monica, for Justin Thomas, I am Jason Duhe, and remember, Leslie Bonton related with the good time show.
God bless you.